What's up, New York? Thank you very much for waiting and for coming to see us. We feel very honored. I know lots of you are tired. It's been a long day, so thank you for your patience.
I was just about to say, what are your tips for surviving a Comic-Con?
Candy. No, serious.
Really?
Like candy, chocolate, sours, Sour Patch Kids, anything that's going to give you a high, and then you know, just as you're about to crash, eat more. So you just keep going, and you keep going until I get back to my hotel, and then I face plant as soon as I'm in my room.
Great, it's a good way.
Just make sure you got someone that wakes you up the next morning, because that could end badly.
More candy.
And both of you, do you have tips for surviving Comic-Con? I guess candy for both of you?
Yeah, I think they all know I kind of have a Red Bull thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Red Bull.
Red Bull. So it's not quite candy, but it's kind of close.
Candy in a can.
Candy in a can.
There you
That's
go.
Boom. There's your new slogan, Red Bull. You're welcome.
So, let's jump back in time. Before the show, Yetide, I understand you're a huge Neil Gaiman fan. Am I overestimating by saying huge?
No, huge, mega huge fan. That would be about right. Yeah.
So, what did you like about the novel? What was exciting for you about it?
I mean, apart from the fact that I love anything that's slightly sci-fi or fantasy in any which way.
She's legit, you guys. She was telling me backstage, well, A, she said I looked like Matt Smith, which is easily the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me in my life, and not true. But you were trying to get into the captain's chair, right?
Oh yeah, I think they looked around for me and I was gone for a minute and they're like, where did Yetide go? And I was like, I of course had to get a picture in the captain's chair, as you do, right?
You're at Comic-Con.
But yeah, I was a huge Neil Gaiman fan. Well, yeah, one, because of the sci-fi and fantasy element, but also it brought in, Neil has tied in a whole bunch of issues which have been really fascinating to explore. And I remember as a recent immigrant, that was one of the things, all of these old gods coming to this new world was a fascinating idea for me. And of course, you know, there was something that happened with this character called Bilquis that...
Pretty memorable for anybody who's picked up that little volume.
But yeah, a lot of great elements, and just, yeah, Neil's writing is a thing of beauty as well.
And for all of you, to what extent do you see American Gods as a story about immigrants and immigration?
Pablo?
Yeah, Pablo, you want to start?
I think that's one of the huge elements in it, for sure. And, you know, with the timing of the release of the show was definitely, that became a huge focus of conversation around the marketing of it because of the timing with obviously the president getting elected and immigration becoming such an issue. So that's what I would say. It definitely has those tones in it, and I don't think we shy away from it, which I also enjoy.
Yeah. You guys agree that it's a big theme in there? I meant them, but also clearly you guys.
You agree, and I love that. No, it's an important show, and we were just very fortunate. The book came out in 2001. We wrapped before the inauguration and all the kind of shit hit the fan, to be quite honest. And we were just fortunate that we happened to feature all these themes in our show, and it's very important that we don't make this normal, this kind of way of life that we seem to be living at the moment. We were shocked. We were like, it's never going to happen. Well, it did. It's not going to get worse. It did. Yeah, but they won't do that. They did. That can't ever become normal where we're just like, oh, what's happening today? No. Excuse my language, fuck that. No. We need to keep standing up for each other, standing up for ourselves. I don't want to get too political, but I was really
already
inspired.
there, so
It's a little late for that.
But I was really inspired yesterday morning. I was in the gym, and a soldier was talking to me, and he said, I didn't put my life on the line for anyone to tell people, free people, never mind the president, what they're allowed to kneel for in their life. not about flag. It's not about the flag. It's not about the anthem. Colin Kaepernick and all these sports stars love America. They love the flag. They love the anthem. It's never been about that. We need to focus on what it's about. And with our show, we're keeping stuff in conversation which needs to be happening. We're talking about immigration, we're talking about racism, sexism, we're talking about homophobia, we're talking about gay rights, we're talking about gun control. All of this stuff matters. All of this stuff cannot be normal. We need to kind of be having these conversations every day, and not just having conversations. How about we start making stuff happen?
Are you ready to announce your candidacy here?
I'm not being funny. If he can do it, I pissed myself laughing when Kanye said he was going to run. I will take Kanye in a second.
So back to the mechanics of the show. Can you each walk me through the process of getting your part, and what you read, what intrigued you about the show, any stories from auditioning? When we start with Pablo.
I was, it came to me first as an audition. I was asked to audition for it. I think my agent's rep said no, offer only. Then they hired somebody else who did audition for it. And then they shot with him for a couple days. And then they came back and said, okay, we're ready to make you an offer. And so I was the beneficiary of somebody else's bad luck, unfortunately. Don't worry, he's fine. I didn't know anything about Neil Gaiman, honestly, other than that he was the author of Coraline, because I have kids. And so this experience has been an education for me on him and his writing, which was fantastic. So I got the pilot script first, and it was crazy and out there, and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And I was like, can I see some more, please? So they sent me 5 more episodes, and I was like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with this. And the character started to get fleshed out a little more, and I started to see where they were going with it. And then before I took the job, I just said, fly me to New York, and let's do a hair and makeup test, and see if we can, figure out a look that we like for the character. Because he's so...
Is that a you're hot?
You're hot, Pablo! You're so hot! Well, thanks. We all know about the heat level that's happening over there. So.
I love you, Pablo.
So we'll just save that for later. Where was I? God, I get so distracted when Ricky talks to me. It's so hard, I have to look away. Okay, somebody remind me where I was, please.
New York. Testing for the look.
Yeah, so we did a hair and makeup test in Toronto, and they put a wig on me, and apparently they had used the wig that they had used on the last guy, and it didn't fit, and it looked terrible, and I looked like a homeless bum, like really, really, really bad. And I said, okay, well, let's not do that, but let's try something else. Let's cut the sides of the wig out. And so we cut the sides of the wig out, and suddenly it kind of came to life. I was like, oh shit, that's him. And it all kind of went from there. And so then I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then we shot. And then I read the book. And then we shot.
And then you read the book. And Yetide, what was your process to get in?
The process was getting the audition.
Tell us about your audition.
Worship me. Spot on. Yes. And here I am.
There were other people in the room, but
only at the beginning of the audition.
Last woman standing. So we're gonna go Jane, Sarah, Anne, and. Is Jane, Sarah?
Jane, where's Jane? Has anybody seen Jane? No? She looked a lot like Yetide.
You all crack me up. But it was actually, I got the audition. And then you see on that sheet, first off, I see the name Neil Gaiman, I see American Gods, I'm already geeking out. I'm trying to, keep it back, hold it together, Yetide. And then I see Bryan Fuller, and people already know. So I'm going, okay, this just keeps getting better and better. Then I see Michael Green, and I'm going, okay, I'm about to pass out, but all right.
By the way, go to the cinema this Friday.
Yes.
Watch Blade Runner by Michael Green. Break some box office and make him a happy man. And then he'll make American Gods Season 2 even better. As you will.
I felt very military. I'm not sure. Okay. But yeah, then I see all these incredible names on top of American Gods, and I see this character of Bilquis that I've now had 15 years to think about. And I let it resonate a little bit. And I know we all laugh, but it was actually a very emotional audition. Bryan did a couple of redirects in there, and I was in tears by the end of it. Just this whole idea of loss through it all. And yeah, I believe that I went in twice, and then they said, you're going to go and shoot American Gods. And I think I might have broken some china and some crockery. Because they told me this while I was doing dishes. But yeah, and now here I am.
Now people do the dishes for you.
She is a queen!
Oh, love you too.
And Ricky, how'd you get your part?
I was literally.
I worked my ass off. I have never been through such an insane audition process in my whole career. So, I was allowed by Warner Brothers and CW to audition for other roles because I knew I was leaving my previous show, The 100. Big up to one of the greatest casts around and crew. They were amazing and I love them. Nick, you roll! You go play stay on it. Single tip. And so I started my audition process up in Vancouver on tape, and I was putting things on tape. So I too, like Pablo, shockingly hadn't heard of Neil Gaiman or American Gods. Don't judge me, please. I do now. I know he's a rock star. He's amazing. He's incredible. And he's really funny. He's really, really funny. And so my audition started up there, and I started reading the book, and I ended up doing 16 different auditions. Tapes. I did an audition on Skype. So you're looking at your laptop, and they're all like leaning in like this. And Bryan, not only is he a creative genius, he's one of the nicest guys you've ever met in your life. And he talks about, like, he knows everything about TV and film, and so everything's kind of like, maybe 20% less John Malkovich, 80% more Will Smith. That's how he talks. He's amazing. I love him. But he gets into your head, so you know exactly what he's talking about. So I had this audition on Skype, and it was just crazy. And then
I feel like he made it real easy for you with that direction, though. That's John Malkovich, more Will Smith.
Yeah. You're like, yes. I know it came to my head. I'm sorry. Less Kevin Spacey. And so I ended up going down, and basically Michael and Bryan, they liked what they saw, but they said that I was too close to Shadow Moon in the book. In the book, Shadow Moon is very, very blasé. He goes along with everything. His dead wife turns up, and he's like, "There's my dead wife." Wow. And it's an internal monologue, and so we had to try and lift Shadow off the page a bit more. I mean, he's still broken, he's still vulnerable, and that's how Mr. Wednesday is able to manipulate him in the beginning of the show. But we just needed to lift him up more. So I worked with Bryan and Michael through a couple of weeks. So over a 5-month process, we managed to kind of really mold Shadow Moon. And I think if it wasn't for all those 16 tapes and 5 months of working, we wouldn't have got to where we did. So I was very grateful for that, and you know, I'm looking forward to where we're going to take Shadow Moon in season 2.
All right. And for all of you, what was the first scene you shot? What was that like?
First scene I shot was the crocodile bar.
Describe the scene.
Yeah. It was the first time. So we shot the Crocodile Bar. That was the first thing I shot when I showed up. As I said, these guys had worked with another actor before that. It was me and Ricky. And,
There was only Pablo.
and Ian, and we did the scene, and you could tell something was not right. Bryan and Michael kept coming in. You could tell they were just not like real happy with it. And we found out a couple months later that they hated the set.
Oh.
And Bryan said to me, he's like, I knew the whole time you guys were doing that scene that we were going to reshoot it. I was like, well, you could have told us to stop. We were there for 3 days. That's like 3 days we'll never get back.
9 hours in the fight scene alone.
And the fight scene, shot the whole fight, everything. And then it actually ended up being the last thing we shot as well. So we reshot that whole sequence in the Crocodile Bar after we had shot the whole season, which ended up being an amazing opportunity for us because we had all been in character for about 5 or 6 months. You know, we all knew our characters way better than we did at the beginning. So I watched both versions. I watched the early version and I watched the later version, and the later version is so much better than the early version was because of the set, but also because of us just living in it more. And then I split my head open and because I bumped Ricky's head in a headbutt, and Ricky has the hardest head in history.
I was about to say, both of you, what is it like to shoot?
Don't be deceived. He looks real cute, but that's a hard head.
What was it like shooting the fight scene in the Crocodile Bar? It's so wild to watch.
It was tough. Like I say, the first time we did it, I remember clocking it was like 9 hours. If you watch that fight, it's rough, it's rugged, it's raw, and
Yeah.
he's throwing me over tables, he's smashing me over the head with glasses, and you know, like Pablo said, like he bust his head wide open. When you watch that scene, all the blood from his nose, his mouth, that's all fake blood, and then he's got this massive gash. That was real from where he headbutted me.
Good
I went to hospital, got his head glued back, and said, "Fucking let's shoot this." He just came back to set and just shot it because you know he's a pro and he's a badass.
No, because we already shot it once, and there was no way I was going to shoot that fight a third time. We were absolutely finishing that night. Please do not finish him.
But I was the same. Like when he throws me over the table, it's fake glass, but for some reason when I drag my arm, and some of the fake glass ripped my wrist open.
Oh, God!
Like the real way, like not even like I'm looking for attention. Like people look at an actor, is it that bad? People worry about me because it was really deep and gushing. Like the medic that night was just like stressing, like oh my god, Pablo's done this and Ricky's done this. Like it was really taxing, and it was really tough. And Annalise, who's a wonderful woman up on set who looks after the cast, coordinating us all, she got me a bag of bath salts because the next morning when I woke up, I literally could not move. I felt like an old man. No offense to any old man. An old man who was struggling to get up. Maybe, is that better? I want to be politically correct.
You don't want to be ageist.
Anyway, either way, I was struggling to get up, and I literally had to sit in a bath for 3 hours in a hot bath with bath salts trying to soothe my muscles. And I just I couldn't even lean forward because it hurt, so I just pushed the hot tap. And then turn it off when it got too hot. And I stayed there for 3 hours until my phone battery died. And that is the only reason I got out. But that 3-hour bath was the only reason I was able to stand the next day and actually walk around, whereas Pablo went to set and shot. Sorry.
And Yetide, what was the first scene you shot?
It was actually getting to meet the gentleman caller.
Oh, all right.
So it was an introduction to everybody.
Joy.
And tell me about shooting that. What's that like?
It was, I think it was one of those fratter days. I could be wrong. You know, one of those days that you start on a Friday and end on a Saturday. So it becomes
Fratter day?
Fratter day.
Yeah.
Is that like a?
It's what all actors do.
Oh, it's a thing.
Oh, really? It's a thing.
It's the end of most work weeks in television.
Ugh.
Yeah. So we just
Doesn't
kind of
even
learned it.
sound nice.
It sounds terrible. exactly like it feels.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, we have one of the most amazing groups ever in front of and behind the camera. And so they make a long day that's very technical. It includes all kinds of trapdoors and other interesting things. Oh yeah, trapdoors.
Trapdoor, is that what you call it? No, she didn't.
There'll be a line later to shake hands with Yetide's trapdoor.
Yeah, so you see the fun that is had on set, and it's just so many people that, you know, we don't get to see all the time that do such hard work and do it for such long hours as well. And that was really the first time that, you know, the two of us got to really talk, apart from a quick pre-costume time. So it was, I mean, it was new, it was interesting, it was fascinating, and that's when also, when I realized, I said, I already knew this was going to be an event, but seeing all of that happen through that night, morning, day, it was truly something special, yeah.
And for all of you, what's your favorite Bryan Fuller story?
Okay, my favorite Bryan.
I'm ready.
Sorry, can you tell I love Bryan? He's amazing, right? My favorite was the first dinner we had with everybody. And I was feeling a little, you know, as you all know, I'm such a big geek, and I'm like, what am I doing here? They're gonna realize I'm not cool and tell me to leave. And I remember sitting at the table, seeing all these amazing, incredible people, and Bryan sits down next to me, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna fit in. And he turns over, and we start talking. It's like, oh yeah, and it's like that thing in Doctor Who. Oh yeah, like that thing from Twilight Zone. Oh right, like that episode in Star Trek. And I went, oh, I'm home.
You're one of us.
That's good. And you guys, what's your favorite Bryan Fuller story? No?
I can't say anything legally. I don't know. Like,
I think my favorite Bryan, it's not a story, but I have a lot of fun imagining how much joy Bryan got out of cutting together the Jin and Salim scene. I just pictured him in the editing bay for like hours and hours and hours. And it's such a beautiful scene, you know, but you can see the love that he put into it. And so I thought about that.
Well, you guys know the story. I wrote a story about this. Bryan saw the initial cut and basically said, these are his words. He said, unless he has an 11-inch long candy cane cock, it's not getting in that hole. Reshoot it to be more anatomically accurate. Which, God bless, you know.
he's so good.
That's a lot of details. Yeah. He's
on television.
He's a wordsmith. That's for sure. So, Yetide, I'm curious, how did you want to approach this role to make her sexy, but not in kind of a male-gazy, like, creepy or exploitative way? How do you, as a performer, approach that role in order to do that?
Well, that was the thing that hit me from the very beginning reading it, from Neil's original words. I remember having that moment of resonance where I kind of sat up where I was and I said, yes. That's interesting. I like that idea. And it's funny because I've had people approach me, you know, guys, you know, saying, oh, I love the character, but I'm scared of you. And I went, yeah. I like that. And then, you know, going further, I go, I think that should be the way it is for all women. Like, yeah. You know? And it was just all from where she was coming from and really being able to own all of this, and then being able to go into the audition room with Bryan and Michael, and they're very much on that page and wanting me to explore that of this queen, of this goddess, of owning the moment. And as long as it came and was owned by the character, then it wasn't relying on the male gaze, which just I as an individual resonate with. And I don't necessarily think of myself as sexy or any which way, so...
That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard today. I mean, come on.
But what I was getting at, I wasn't fishing, I swear, guys.
Yeah.
You can give her compliments later when you shake her trapdoor.
But what it was that just that journey as me, as a woman in this day and in this age, and the things, what being able to own my own sensuality meant. And the more I got to explore that, the more I started to find Bilquis, and I think it maybe resonated, and I think, I think. And we got to, and again, of course, because of this whole group, Bryan, Michael, Neil's words, and the people in front of the camera and behind, like I always like to try and reiterate, because there's a team. It took a village. It took a village. That's a short answer.
And Ricky, talk about working with Ian McShane. What's he like behind the scenes?
I can't stand that guy. He's so good at everything. No, we hit it off straight away. We're both from the same area of Manchester. We both support Manchester United. Which is a football team, people. Football. We play with our feet. It's a ball. You have it's an egg. It's not even a ball. The ball's round. It's an egg, and you throw it with your hands. It's not football. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. Well, I will cut you. Gonna the star.
I'm losing control of this panel very quickly.
It's about to kick off. Dirty Gooners are in the crowd. Football's very tribal in the UK.
That's what I hear.
No, so anyway, so that's that goes to show if myself and Ian didn't support the same team, we probably would have had a really crappy season because we would have been fighting the whole time. But what better education can an actor have than working opposite that guy? Yeah. He's done everything. He's won awards. His resume. He's forgotten more work than I'm ever gonna do. And he's incredible. He's a machine. He's a monster. And it's great just watching his nuances and his choices that he makes. And we talk about scenes, and we straight away had this great kind of dynamic that was very important for the story to be pushed forward. You've got two characters that are kind of at odds with each other. They're constantly. Mr. Wednesday's manipulating Shadow, and Shadow doesn't, listen to anything that Wednesday's saying. He takes everything with a grain of salt, and it's kind of like, well, why are these two still together? And it's because of that chemistry between them, which myself and Ian had off camera, which we were able to bring on camera. So I've been very blessed working opposite something that I looked up to and admired my whole life, and before my life. He's been around for a while, just making incredible film and TV. So it's been great working with that sort of talent and the rest of the talent, not just here on stage, but, without a shopping list of actors, but, we've got Kristen Chenoweth, Crispin Glover, Peter Stormare, Gillian Anderson, Bruce Langley, Musa and Omid, and what? Emily Browning. My dead wife. I blocked her out because she slept with my best friend, and then she was hanging around with this hunk of meat over here for the whole season. They look good together though, so it's okay.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you, Pablo, about doing the flashback episode, the Essie McGowan episode. What was that like? What was unique or special about shooting that? It's a great episode.
Thanks. What was unique and special about it was that it was something that was separate from the plot, you know, and then aided the plot at the same time. But to get to watch Emily do a different character, and at first, you know, it wasn't supposed to be her. They had written this role, and it was going to be somebody else. That they couldn't find the right actress. They were having a hard time, and then somebody decided, oh well, why don't we have Emily do it? And as soon as they told me she was doing it, I was like, yes, that's perfect, because to me, the overtones, undertones, I don't know which is appropriate, but of the relationship between them in the callback, for the character Essie McGowan to be the person that reminds Matt Sweeney of her is perfect, and it makes it makes the season come home in a way, in an emotional way that I think really worked for those two characters.
Yeah.
So it was great to do, you know, and fun to get out of the modern day and to do a little period piece of our own in one episode, and it was great. It was wonderful. And I think, you know, to have that episode of Emily and I just doing that, and I know that we're going to have opportunities for all of the cast to have their own, like, sort of standalone things that where you really get to focus on one character for an entire episode. So I'm excited for everybody else to do those as well.
Yeah, that dovetails with what I was going to ask, but just Yetide, let's talk about doing your huge origin story episode, which is... You know, the season really doesn't run out of steam. You know, like right around the end, you're like, okay, maybe they're just going to wrap it up and kind of even out, and then you get this incredible sequence. What was it like shooting the components of that sequence?
Oh, it was incredible to be able to jump into Bilquis' journey that way. And we actually shot that before 7. Yeah, so it was a little out of... order, but then knowing you're going to have the amazing Orlando Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You should have been nominated for one scene. That's how good he was in that.
Yeah.
So good. And having great moments of diving into each era, and even doing the Down on the Luck Bilquis, where I almost didn't get back on set because they weren't going to let me on. Security didn't recognize me.
Really? That's an Emmy right there. Yeah, she really fell.
A true story. The crew would not let her on because they thought she was homeless. That's how good our makeup team was, and how innocent like Yetide is. Anyone else would go, look, I am the show. Thank you. Okay.
Maybe I am meant to be out here.
That's
so sweet.
But that was just, you know, and that's gold. I mean, you get to use that on the screen, and that's a wonderful thing to get to play with. And just, getting to do the disco era with those incredible dancers.
And you get the hair.
Yes, the whole look. And those dancers actually were throughout the episode. I think they were also at Easter's house as well.
Oh.
The dancers from the disco.
Oh, the Fred Astaire dancers were the same ones as in disco?
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
See?
I just learned that.
But no, it was amazing to be able to go through that journey of and that reminder that we all come from greater places, and we have some not so great places, some great times. So hills and valleys and all of that. But I was so thankful to the group to be able to play with that.
And Ricky, I want to talk about one of the more powerful scenes of the first half of the season, which is the hanging scene. What was it like approaching that? Because it's such a visually sensitive subject, and obviously thematically sensitive. What did you guys talk about beforehand about how you were going to approach that?
The weird thing is, I didn't really think about it until, like, speaking to, like, Emily. She was shooting a scene after me, and so she came up when I was hanging from the tree, and she freaked out. But it really hurt. It really hit her, and she really didn't like it. It made her feel horrible, and that made me really think, like, this is such a powerful visual. But again, it's just reminding the public that we seem to think that this stuff's over and, you know, these racist undertones, overtones. Could someone just educate us?
I'm the writer, I should know this.
Why am I trying to use big words? These racist bits? They're important to be, you know, that we need to keep raising them up, you know, like I said with the whole cabinet thing, you know, the police brutality and equality and all that sort of stuff. Because here you have a black man being hung from a tree surrounded by faceless goons dressed all in white. Like, it doesn't get more on the nose than that.
Yeah.
You know, and it really is powerful. And like I say, at the time, I don't think I realized how powerful it was. I just thought, wow, that's a beautiful image, that's great. I was trying to think, you know, how do I get to the toilet because I've got a wetsuit under my suit and the zips at the back. And I really need to go now. And I'm hanging from a tree.
The mind of an actor.
I might cast her underneath me and I can't pee on them, that would be wrong. No, that was a true story though. Like the first day when I was filming in that so I'm hanging from a tree, and because it's Canada and it's April and it's freezing cold. There's a rain machine. It's freezing cold. It's like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So they put you in a wetsuit to try and help you keep your body heat in. And then I put my suit on, and then I've got my harness on to hang me from the tree. You're not really hung from the neck. That would be crazy. I do a little bit of method, but I would probably die. And so I'm one of those guys that doesn't like go, I need to go to the toilet in about 20 minutes. I'm like, my body's just like loving life, and then now. And I had that moment where I was just chatting to, I think it was makeup or something like that. I was like, oh, I gotta go. Back in a sec. So I went to the toilet, and I had that really scary moment, like a Ken doll, where I just collapsed out. And I looked down, and there was nothing there. And the fear that ran through me that I needed the toilet now, and I'm wearing a wetsuit. I literally had to whip off my belt, pants come down, I'm jumping around in the toilet. I had to take my harness off, the shirt had to come off. All this has to come off because I've got to get to the wetsuit. Then I realized the zip's at the back of the neck. So then I'm like trying to find this thing, and I'm got it, whipped it down. I didn't pee myself, I still hold the record. I've never peed myself as an adult, which I'm very proud of, but that was very close. So yeah, that was that film and that scene. That was that was more traumatic than the actual scene. But no, yeah, it's great, and I love that the writers are not afraid to kind of go there. And David Slade, who directed that first episode, came up with some really beautiful stuff, and we're all really proud of how it looks.
Pablo, what's the hardest word to do in the accent?
What's the hardest
word to do in the accent, in the Irish accent?
There was a bunch of hard ones. I don't know if I could pull out what the hardest one was, but I'll tell you what the easiest one was.
What's that?
Fuck.
I'll do it. Yeah. Ricky, what's the hardest one to do in your accent, in the American accent?
Fuck. That's what I say. I've never sworn on TV until this show.
Oh, really?
And like, I got really nervous. The first time the scene when I'm robbing the bank, they cut a bit out of it, but my whole scene was 7 fucks. That's all I said in the whole scene. I'm just looking at cameras and I'm like, fuck. Fuck. And I literally sat in my trailer like, how can I make this one different to the other one? Because you can't do the same, because that just looks wooden. I look like a bad actor. That's going to be a different fuck, because that fuck was like more frustration, and that fuck was like, yo, you're getting caught. But this fuck is like, and I had this conversation in my head, in my room. So yeah, it's very exciting to be able to now swear. I was very PG before, and I'm sorry, Mum, if you can see this, and I'm sorry for the young ones and those affected by my language, but If you're here, you must be watching American Gods.
I do love that we're getting the one-man show that pops up occasionally.
Thank you for pointing that out. We were all thinking it, but you said it. You really said it.
No, I'm not shaming you. I'm genuinely enjoying it.
I feel stage shamed.
No, we love it, right? We like.
Can't sit still. I have a very short attention span. Squirrel. What?
Be you? Was that it?
Be me.
But he's an actor. That's like.
That was my John Cena entrance from WWE.
He went down there just to do that stage re-entrance. The whole thing was a plot just to dive back on stage.
Is he always like this?
Always. There's not a moment in Ricky's life that he's not like this. He literally goes home and does this right before bed just to calm down.
Tell me, both Pablo. Okay.
Ricky, hands off the moderator.
What's it like working with Emily Browning?
Emily's fantastic. She's probably one of the smallest human beings you've ever seen. And I mean, in every way, like she's very short, but she's also so skinny, and just like she looks like she's gonna blow away if it's a windy day. And I am not small, and so the two of us in that dynamic, I just got such a kick out of, and I think it was integral to the part of the story there. But she's a joy, She's irreverent and funny. Bawdy, she likes to swear.
Yeah.
And
she's Australian as well.
She's Australian. I guess that just sums it up. She's Australian. She's fun. She's fun.
A significant portion of the cast were not born in the United States, which is just so perfect.
Unless you're Native American, I think we're touching upon something here.
All right. Them individually.
I think that's one of the real strengths of the show, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a story that is about, as we said, immigration, and it's about all of the different voices and kinds of people that have lent themselves to create this country and make it what it is. And so it's being told by a number of outsiders, a number of immigrants to this country, people who live here now, but have an outsider's point of view on it. And that's what's important about the show. That's why it is what it is it's people looking at this country from the outside.
And Ricky, what was it like building that relationship with Emily?
No, she's, like Pablo said, she's hilarious. She's nothing like her character. Her character's a bit of a biatch. She's like
language.
She's really mean. But in real life, she's the sweetest, most loveliest girl ever. I remember, she texts me, okay, this is Emily, she's the biggest hypochondriac as well. So there's always something wrong. The world's about to end, or she's about to die of some...
She's like a female Woody Allen.
So I'm literally out shopping in Toronto, and she texts me, is there a Zara in Toronto? And I was like, oh, is Zara in Toronto? And I'm like, yeah, it's the top of the mall at the back. At the top of the escalators. And she texts me back, no you dickhead, Ezeka. It's also correct. Is Ezeka in Toronto? She's like, why would I even care about shopping? She doesn't care about...
No, I was going to say, you had me stumped there. I'm like, why is Emily asking about Zara? This is
Like, she literally thinks she's about to die at any moment. She's so hilarious. You say, like, you look pale, she'll be like, I thought I looked pale. I thought But she's incredible. I never knew she was Australian. I first saw her in Legend with Tom Hardy, and she was British in that. And I was like, you sure she's not British? And then I remembered, oh no, I saw her in Sucker Punch. She's just American. And then I'm like, no, she's not American either. She's a crazy talented girl, and she's a lot of fun to work with. And she really made a really strong, powerful, independent character that I've not seen on TV. You know, and the character doesn't make apologies. She's not your stereotypical character who apologizes for being crass or rude or heartless or cold or any way. She's just who she is, and you know, she's actually turns out, and this is down to Emily as one of my favorite characters in the show, and that's down to her talent and the way she kind of bred life into that role that is only sporadic in the book, you know?
Yeah.
Same with Matt Sweeney, and even Bilquis. They're only sporadic characters, you very rarely see them, and so they're able to really kind of make these characters grow, and in the book, they're fan favorites. Mm-hmm. Now we've got these incredible actors, and we're using these incredible actors, and it's just great to see where, you know, Michael Bryan and Neil himself are going to take them, you know? It's we're following the book, but we're also kind of deviating, you know, kind of pulling away from the story and coming back, and it's a lot of fun. And I think, you know, we all know Shadow's story, Mr. Wednesday's stories, and we know these different things. I'm excited by what these guys are going to be doing next season and over the next coming seasons. So, really looking forward to seeing what happens with them.
We have time for a few questions. While you're getting ready to ask your question, two things. One, they are not going to tell you anything about season 2. Try as you might.
I will tell you everything. There's a book out, you know what I mean? Get me in trouble.
And two questions are short and they end in a question mark. Yeah, I guess the line's over there. So, yes, first person.
Hi, I'm Michelle from Queens. I just want to say to Ricky, when I found out you were cast and starring in this, I was so excited too. I was just so happy.
Oh, I love you!
My question's for the whole cast. If you could play any other character in the show, who would you be?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
I'd be Bilquis.
You know, I really would love to see that.
You saw a taste of it earlier, but you know, I'll give you the whole show sometime.
Oh, I keep on saying they crack me up, but this is life on set with these two.
Yeah.
I would say, and that is in line with what you were talking about, I'd like to be Mr. Nancy only so I could see him, Orlando, play Bilquis.
I love Matt Sweeney. I'd like to play Matt Sweeney. I think he's hilarious. Like, Pablo, like, I was on a flight once, right, and these fans came up to me, I was with Pablo, and they came up to me and they were like, oh, I love you in the 100, blah, 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 I love this, oh, I love, what was it, and they were like, we were talking about, oh, I've left the show, I'm on American Gods now. Oh, yeah, this is Pablo, he's in the show, yeah, he plays Matt Sweeney. Oh, great, yeah. And they weren't really interested in Pablo. And I was like, so yeah, and I was like, yeah, he's in Orange is the New Black, it's Porn Stash. Shit, they're like, wait, what? Oh no, oh my god, you're amazing! Like, Pablo's
Half the audience just realized that's a fact.
But that's how good a chameleon he is. You know, it's incredible what Pablo can do. You know, he's one of those these great actors who just can just morph. And what he did with Matt Sweeney is friggin' awesome, and I love it. I crack up, like, I'm laughing out loud when I watch Matt Sweeney like get his ass whooped by a little 4-foot girl. It's hilarious, and so I'd love to do something a little bit more crazy like that.
Over there.
Hi, my name is Bryan from Jersey City. I was wondering if you had a favorite Gillian Anderson story, like even just a little.
Now, Gillian again. I grew up watching Gillian. It took all my strength to not call her Scully. I don't think she would have liked that.
Yeah, she probably would.
It would have started very badly.
Yeah.
She's sort of in queen territory. Whenever she shows up on set, everybody's just like very careful around her. Like, is Gillian okay? What does she think about me? Everybody's on their best behavior, so you can definitely see the respect when she steps on set.
Yeah. I remember the first time the Lucille Ball scene.
Oh
Where she's on the TV. So we shot my bit in the warehouse till like 9:30 in the morning. That sucked. And then we shot the reverse of her in the studio. And I was so excited, I'm like, finally, I'm gonna get to work with Gillian Anderson. Like, I had my like Yetide moment where I peed myself. I was like, oh my god, this is going! I'm so excited. I was really like all day, like I was like, yes, here we go. Did all my scenes, and then she was coming in later on in the day, and I saw her in the makeup chair, and she was getting ready, and she asked me to sign something for her charity because she's very all about her charity. She's such a wonderful woman, and I was like, yeah, this is great. And then we got to set. And then she was like, I won't need you. Excuse me? And she was like, well, I'm gonna be talking down the lens and you're gonna be distracted if you're on the side. I wanna look at you and not the lens. So I think you can go home, just relax. There was a shatter of a million pieces and that was my heart hitting the floor.
I said the same thing during the crocodile scene.
All right, over here.
Hi, my name is Noelle. I'm from Long Island, and my question is for Ricky. First of all, Linktavia forever.
Love you all.
And my question to you is, how is filming this different from other projects you've worked on, specifically since you came from The Hunt, which is very science fiction, and this is kind of more fantasy, I would think?
I feel like I was driving a Fiat and I'd just been given a Lamborghini. And I don't mean that in any bad way, but the way we shoot this is like a movie. It's 1-2 scenes a day. We shoot with drones. I shoot with like Pablo and Yetide. These are like crazy, powerful actors who've done so much, whereas we're all kind of fresh on the CW. Apart from the incredible, Paige Turco, Henry Ian Cusick, and Isaiah Washington, everyone was pretty much a newbie, So I love that cast, and we had a lot of fun together, and that's going to be my fan forever. I've got so much love for that talented cast. But on this, it's a much larger level. It's a much bigger production. It feels bigger. You know it's going around. It goes out on STARZ in America on the Sunday night, and the very next day, it's going to 200 countries on Amazon Prime Video. Like, this is worldwide. This is incredible. A huge monster, and I just feel privileged to work with this talent, both in front of the camera, behind the camera with Neil Gaiman, Bryan Fuller, and Michael Green. Michael Green's just doing Blade Runner out now. Go see it on Friday. But yeah, so I miss that team a lot. I love my Linktavia, and I wish we could do a spin-off.
And then, over here.
Hello, my name is Jim. I'm also from Long Island. This question is for Ricky. You are playing a man of color who went to prison in America, in the Midwest of America, in a racially divisive time. How did you get into that mindset as someone who did not grow up in America with that foundation that some of my friends of color explained to me that you're just not going to get if you don't experience it?
This cracks me up, and this is something that Samuel L. Jackson tried to put out there, early this year or last year or something, when he talked about Daniel and Chiwetel and all these great actors who are winning awards for their roles. Apparently Sam seems to think there's no racism anywhere else in the world. And I don't know if it's out of context or whatever, but I'm not being funny. When I'm the only black kid in school, I'm going to receive some racism. When I'm the only English kid in an Irish school, I'm going to receive, I'm going to get into fights. I got into fights. I was a Catholic in a Protestant school. I was a footballer in a rugby school. Every day was a challenge. Every day was a fight. And for people to think that I don't understand racism because I'm not from America is insane. Unfortunately, it's everywhere. I would love it. I would love it if racism was only in America and nowhere else. I would love it if it was only in the Midwest. But it's unfortunately everywhere, and we'll weed it out and we'll get rid of it, and eventually we'll be able to live peacefully. But I know all about racism from growing up, and I was able to draw upon very personal experiences for all those roles.
Thank you. Say again?
We have time
for 2 more questions.
Okay, great.
This is a question, sorry, my name is Bethany, I'm from Binghamton, New York. It's a question for Yetide. You talked before about not relying on the male gaze and owning your own sensuality. And I was just wondering if you felt like the characteristic of Bilquis, that she does not have power unless she is desired, and do you feel like that somewhat undermines the power of a woman owning her sensuality if she is put in such dire straits if a man or a woman does not desire her?
Interesting question.
That's a great question.
Glad that's for you.
No, thank you.
I love big titties.
Well, I would say that the first part of that question is that, and then you actually touched on that at the very beginning, that it's not just male connection she's looking for. It's male, it's female, and what she's really looking for is connection. It's not just desire. And you see it over the years, what happens when she's not getting that full worship, which I as a performer then put together with connection. And so you see that she's anemic, that she needs full human interaction to really become full and whole. And you see her in all her glory in that, in the ancient times. You see her in the disco era, in all of that. And what I loved in that final episode of this season is that you see this, well, let's say relationship that is occurring with the new gods. And you get an inkling of something coming forward, but as Michael and Bryan always do, things always twist. And you may see one idea and you see the gods take another turn, especially when they're older gods, and time has a very, very different meaning to them, and it's a whole different chess game that they're playing. So, again, from the very beginning, you touched on it too, that it's not male gaze that she depends on, and that was very important to me, and that was one of the things that resonated immediately from reading Neil Gaiman's work. And you see in her nebula all the people that have been given the gift, which is really what it's all about.
Great, we have time for one more quick question.
I'm Ruben, I'm from Boston, and do you have any funny Neil Gaiman stories? I actually worked with Neil Gaiman once. He acted in my student film at BARD somehow. He agreed to do that. So I know he's a pretty funny guy. So
all right, we got it. Good. Sorry, the counter here is telling me we have 1 minute left, so. Yetide, what was it like meeting Owen?
Okay,
Must have been...
so, yeah, a funny Neil Gaiman story. That's exactly it, is meeting Neil Gaiman, where Bryan goes, oh, hi, Yetide, this is Neil Gaiman. I look at him, I nod, and I walk away. Because it's Neil Gaiman, guys.
Pablo, you were about to say something?
I was going to say, he showed up to the rap party for our first season with the worst haircut of all time. He's kind of known for these locks that get all in his face. He's always blowing his hair out of his face.
Sure.
And he showed up to the rap party and he was clean shaven, had his haircut. And we were like, wow, Neil's really turning over a new leaf. He's he's getting clean cut. Like, what's going on? And we went and asked him. He's like, no, that was a mistake, man. I went to a barber and he gave me the worst haircut I've ever gotten. I had to shave it all off.
Because he was, where was he? Was it like Florida? But there was a hurricane coming. Florida, so there's a hurricane coming, so he thought, oh, I'm gonna go get my hair cut quickly in case I can't go out for like a couple of weeks. And so he just went to the nearest barber, and being British, didn't complain.
It was too polite to tell the barber that he'd screwed up.
I don't know when I was like, do you like that? How's that? He's like, mm-hmm. Lovely. So yeah, when he turned up, literally he's really clean shaven. Everyone's like, oh, it looks great. And he's just like, no.
Well,
It's grown out.
this has been great. Thank you guys so much.
Once again, thanks for coming out. Safe journey home, people. Have a great weekend.